Thanks, Sonal. Good afternoon, everyone. And we're welcome to what we hope is going to be a very interesting conversation about social media and the influencer revolution and how it's reshaping the travel space, consumer behavior, and local branding. Um, Before I start, every time I kept looking at my opening remarks, I kept thinking industrial revolution instead of influence revolution, so please forgive me if that happens. Um, so gone are the days when travel brochures and glossy magazines and celebrity endorsements, traditional advertising, these were the only ways through which we would identify and introduce ourselves to new locations and destinations and understand other cultures around the world. Today, influencers, whether global icons with millions of followers or local micro creators with highly engaged niche audiences, they play a pivotal role in shaping travel trends, influencing choices, and redefining how destinations connect with audiences. Through authenticity, relatability, and the ability to create engaging narratives, influencers have become a key player in modern travel marketing, with brands and destinations actively seeking their partnerships to connect with audiences. But like with all things, with great influence comes great responsibility. There are great challenges that affect this space as well. So how do influencers maintain credibility in a world where branded content dominates? How do they respond to audience expectations surrounding transparency, ethical promotions, and genuine storytelling that honors both the destination and the local communities? Where is the influencer revolution heading next? These are the topics that we'd like to discuss today. Welcome to all our panelists, and thank you for being here. My first question to you guys would be, what is the secret sauce that makes travel influencers so impactful? What unique qualities do you bring to the table that makes travel destinations want to collaborate with you? Preeti, if you want to start us off.
Just testing. Yeah. I think when it comes to being a content creator or an influencer, the one thing that really sets someone apart is the fact that there's a community and you are identified by that community as someone who is, say, they've chosen to like follow or like look at. So when you are out there traveling, creating content, it's like a friend is telling you, it's like a friend is telling you that here's a place I went to, these are some cool things I did, here's what I really liked, here's what I really don't. And there's that element of honesty and authenticity that actually really comes across, which is what makes an influencer credible. Because honestly, if I were to travel, I would ask my friend, like I would prefer a personal recommendation over maybe someone that I don't even know, or like, an aggregator or anyone else. So I feel like that credibility is actually what sets a content creator or an influencer apart, even when it comes to working with, say, a tourism board or a brand, like especially if there's a match between what the creator does and what the destination has to offer. I think that's like the perfect fit. And then when that is communicated to the audience in the way that, say, all of us do best in our own way, that's what is the secret sauce, in my opinion.
Archana, do you want to add to that?
Sure. So I would say there are three main ingredients which are the secret sauce and which are going to stay probably forever. So one is that, whenever you are creating some content, you need to be true to the niche that you have picked up. You cannot sell everything to everyone. It has to be some USP driven. So one is that. Second is, Preeti spoke about authenticity. I think that is very, very important. That's the reason why anybody would listen to a content creator than seeing an ad. So what is it that you're offering? Is it real time, relevant? Yeah, relevant. Third is like, it needs to be useful to the audience. You need to give some kind of tip, something, which they are not going to find by a AI-generated itinerary or which they are not going to find by their nearby travel agent. It is something that you're bringing to the table. So just to sum up, three things. One is that what is your USP that you're selling? Second is how authentic you are. And third is it needs to be useful.
All right. Well said. Nikhil, regarding the old authenticity versus commercialization debate, how do you balance genuine experiences with brand collaborations and maintaining audience trust when the demand is for more transparency and, like Preeti and Archana said, authenticity?
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword for everybody like us, and being a travel creator is not easy because you're always constantly, you're not enjoying your trip most of the times because you're always worried about, will I be able to capture the content that I want to show? And then you're worried about editing it, and a lot of other things happen. But what I feel is like if I'm going to a different country or a different place, I would go to the locals. Like if I'm going to US and still having Starbucks there, fails the purpose, right? So you go to a local coffee shop, you talk to people, you talk to local communities, understand what is going on there, and that brings out the authenticity. And then the experiences that you get from there is what you share with your audience. And a lot of creators, I've seen there's a backlash. There's so much happening in Bali right now that they don't want creators to come. They're like, it's rapid industrialization happening because creators came, showed that Bali is so beautiful. Now everybody wants to set up a property there. So as you said, it's a double-edged sword, and people really, as creators, we try to be as authentic as possible, and it's very tough to be relevant all the time because trends change instantly, a lot of things change. And they also say that, in the next 5 years, we won't even have creators. AI will take over. So that is also a thing that we have to think about. But like you mentioned, I should not be saying this on stage, but creators will always still be there because what we bring to the experience will not be replaced by AI for sure.
Well, absolutely, well said. And AI and any kind of technology will probably be tools that influencers will also find a way to hone and utilize to create human stories.
I'll give you an example. Sure. So my team that works for my edits and all, they saw how AI can edit things, and they're like, are we going to lose our job in an AI? I said, the people who don't skill themselves with AI will lose their jobs, not people who skill themselves. So if you skill yourself and make your work more, faster, better, and perform better, you're helping. Take the help of AI. Do not be scared of AI. That's all I say.
Absolutely. Which is probably, and I'm saving myself here, but this is probably why Industrial Revolution was in my head so much. Keeping up with technology and not being afraid of it is definitely a part of it. With Anupriya, I wanted to throw the same question to you as well.
It's working, right?
Yes.
So basically, it's authenticity versus commercialization, right? So personally speaking, I always choose brands that I anyway associate with. Otherwise, it's a strict no. Same goes for a travel destination. Say, for example, I am going to be covering a country and 5 places there, but there is a certain place that I don't relate to or don't want to promote it. Say, for example, zoo, right? I do not want to promote that, so I do not talk about it. That way, I still maintain my authenticity and still give the audience the other experiences. So it's always about, I think, as an influencer or a creator, sticking to your own values, which is the most important, and then creating content.
So the values that you purport are the ones that your audience is also
kind of aligns with. That's the reason why they're also following, right? They see something which is relatable to them, and that's when they choose to follow you.
But is that a sacrifice that you think a lot of influencers are keen to make? There are compromises? Yes, no?
No. In fact, right now, I feel the space is so crowded that people are making clickbaity content, rage-baity content, which goes against what the word influencer itself stands for. Influence should be positive and not negative. So it's something we all kind of struggle with, in fact, because there's a huge number of creators which are coming up who are just making content which goes viral, which is not even probably good for a certain place. For example, Nikhil mentioned Bali, right? You just make something, again, like multiple creators will go to the same place, create the same content because it goes viral. Might not be good for the environment.
Right. So how would you, and in all of your minds, what's the balance here? How do you counteract the negative impact of a hidden gem becoming a viral destination? Where does the influencer responsibility lie? And short-term booms in certain places. These are we enter their lives, we take Instagrammable pictures, we leave, and then in a couple of months, a new destination is now the 8th place. So these are ever-evolving challenges, but what are your thoughts on this? How do, in your minds, can this be counteracted? Archana?
So, okay, so what I usually do, see, I am big time into sustainability. So anything that I do, I always see it, is it sustainable? And that's how I usually, whenever I plan my travels, they are planned accordingly. I'll give you an example. For example, like everybody wants to go and see cherry blossom in Japan. So when I am going there, I would pick up a season firstly, which is the shoulder season, which is not the peak season, because I don't want to pay money, extra money. Secondly, the people who are already doing that, they're already making big money. It's the people who live in the rural areas. It's the communities, you know, which actually need tourism. So that's why I would spread myself. Either I would go to Hokkaido, which is top north, or I will go to Okinawa, and then go in seasons like autumn, like go in winters, and then showcase those pictures and experiences which people would have not seen it. And that actually motivates other people to go around that time. So for me, it's about not choosing what is viral right now, but what needs our support. How you can help those destinations, even in India also. Like I would try and not do the popular bit and do which can help the communities in a way, and make the content which is relatable for the younger audience, for the generation who is looking at reels and shorts, but also has some information that can be useful both for the travelers as well as the people who are working in the tourism industry.
Right. Preeti, do you want to add to something?
Yeah, I mean, completely agree with all of that. And just to like add to it, I think there's also this element of personal responsibility that everyone needs to take, and even we as creators usually try to do. Because of course, we're all trying to go viral, we're all trying to grow, and in a market as saturated, like Anupriya said, it's honestly a challenge to really find your niche and like set yourself apart. But I feel like instead of just focusing on like, what an individual wants to do, it's also about how you want to be welcomed, right? Like how the people over there want you to come. Because ultimately, it's like you're visiting someone else's house. And how would we feel if someone just entered our house, trashed it and left? Like not great, right? Like that's not fun. So I feel like that level of personal responsibility is also really important. And also like when you kind of follow the right people and like you find the right kind of, agencies doing this kind of work, that's also the right way to maybe travel, and also to kind of, again, it just comes down to personal responsibility in my head at least, so that, you're being mindful of how you're traveling and the impact you're having, and also, able to contribute to like a local economy and kind of build that as well, because ultimately travel is a huge boost for the economy. So it's about finding that balance and just kind of walking that line really well. So yeah.
One thing to that. Sorry, Nikhil, I'm just hijacking it over here. So, I think with personal responsibility, it's also to see whether people are doing greenwashing or not, because a lot of people are doing in the name of sustainability. They might not be sustainable, but they'll project just because it's a buzzword. So, understanding and seeing it from the right lens, before making your decision is very important.
Thanks.
I think I'll ask the audience who's a creator. Anybody who's a smartphone and internet connection is a creator nowadays. So you just shoot and post it and you become a creator, right? So it's a thin line, and you decide what you're posting, and as everybody's mentioned, practice what you preach. So it's up to you. I mean, a lot of people would do anything just for money, and they say, okay, this is a great place, you should visit. And then when you reach there, you see, okay, there's not even like example would be Turkey. You go for hot air balloon, and then you see there's like a queue of 6 hours to get to that place where the whole thing is visible. So a lot of people won't tell you. So there was a trend also that this is what you see and this is what you get. So all of that comes into action where you somehow have to be honest to yourself, because your audience is following you, and after 3-4 times they'll realize whatever he says doesn't come out to be real. When you reach there, the destination was not the same, or he said the food was nice, and I come from a background where I was a long form journalist. It's very important to stay relevant. So when I used to write 15,000-20,000 words, back in the days, YouTube came in and they said, I'm giving away my age and experience with this. So they said that, this could have been a 6-7 minutes video. So I transformed to YouTube. A few years later, they said this could have been a 1-minute video. So I transformed to that. Now they say it could have been a 15 seconds reel or story. So, you have to be relevant. You have to get those tools and still at the same time be authentic to yourself, what you're doing. And it has been a long journey and it's going well, but you never know next what's going to be the next trend or next platform. Would it be just virtual reality or augmented reality? So a lot of content that I'm capturing nowadays is through my sunglasses, because POV shots, people experiencing that, enjoying that. So again, it's about being true to yourself and connecting to the audience, and you can fake once or twice, but later on you'll be caught. So be very honest with what you're putting.
Yeah, just to kind of take on a certain point you made, technology is, of course, always going to be increasing, and our focus seems to be on developing technologies that are faster, better, smaller, all of that. But the regulations and the ethics and the principles that we all live up to might not necessarily be advancing at the same pace. Our focus is on something else. So it's up to creators, and we're figuring it out as we go along. It's after impact happens that we realize that this wasn't the right thing to do. And the audience plays a major role in holding people to account, people who have influence. So what are your thoughts on that?
I was about to say that, it's a two-way street. Just because somebody's putting out content doesn't mean that you need to follow that person. Just because somebody has 1 million followers doesn't mean that person is worth following. So as an audience, you also need to do your own due diligence. When you buy a product, say for example a car, just because Shah Rukh Khan is driving you're not going to buy it, right? You're going to go through everything in detail. So why would you just choose a destination just because it's viral? Or somebody's saying something? You should be, as an audience, also see what, and use your brains basically.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, to your point, to have an audience who is holding us, holding people to account, they need to be well informed. They need to be of a critical thinking mind.
Yes.
And how, I mean, celebrity culture is absolutely something which, the blind following, that is something that we've seen a lot. But is there a counter to that? Is there a way to, is it the role of the influencer to get people to be more critical of them?
I think what social media has done to us has started giving us real-time feedback. You get it, instant feedback. You see Shah Rukh Khan driving a Hyundai car, he's definitely in a Maybach, but he's driving Hyundai just for the ad. And people will blindly buy that. But when it comes to social media, if I am driving a Maybach, they know that usually he drives another car, he owns another car, but this is just because he's saying that these are the features of this car. So it's the critical feedback that you get, the comments that you get, you do lives, you do all of that, and people are right there and will point it out. This is not your car. And I've seen a lot of creators, I should not be saying this, but a lot of creators just renting cars and saying that they own it and then later got caught about it. So again, they lose trust. And this is what, again, like Anupriya mentioned, it's a thin line, it's two-way street. So you have to be loyal to yourself, loyal to your audience. Otherwise, it won't be a long journey because there's thousands of millions of creators. They'll unfollow you and follow someone else.
Gone off script, so I'm going to get back. So in a landscape filled with endless content, how do you see influencers leveraging storytelling not just to showcase destinations, but to create a deep, authentic connection with the audience? And what elements do you believe are essential for a travel narrative to truly resonate and drive meaningful engagement?
Again, I feel like there are two sides to this because you've already spoken about what people are doing for virality, and then there are hooks that are maybe misleading, and all of that forms part of storytelling as well because, of course, everybody kind of wants to get out there. But again, what I feel really, really works in today's day and age, especially when the market is this saturated, is actually being completely true to yourself, because when you're doing that, your community knows, like your audience is smart. People, like you said, there is real-time feedback happening. So honestly, the more authentic you are with your storytelling, and of course, there is like some level of marketing, I would say, which we have to do to kind of, grab someone's attention in, say, the first 3 seconds. But at the end of the day, people know. Like, people know when you're lying, people know when you're telling the truth. So if you're able to spin a story or weave something around, say, a destination which is relevant to you and your audience, and I feel like, a destination can be the same, but everyone has such different experiences over there, and that is actually what sets it apart. So that really needs to come out, and when it does, it is very, very evident, and that works. That just works. So I feel like, as creators, it's also very easy to just kind of get swayed in this whole wave of, oh my God, this person's going viral. Oh my God, that hook is doing well. But every once in a while, just like pulling out and, going up in a helicopter and looking at your own journey and your own purpose just really, really helps to kind of help you find your voice again. And ultimately, that is what works.
Do you think and I'm guessing we kind of understand the difference that I mean when I say influencer versus celebrity. I mean, they're all very well known. But do you think celebrities are maybe held to a different standard of authenticity and expectation than influencers?
Can I take this?
Yes, please.
I think 100%. Celebrities can be doing anything. Anything
They
under
can
the
get away with
sun.
that, yeah.
People will still go and like their post. People will still go and share their post. People will still comment. We do anything which is a little bit of out of turn. People will be like, cancel.
Yeah, but why do you think that is? Is it because you're relatable and they're somehow in the pantheon and the stratosphere?
There's a halo around celebrities, so that's the reason, because they're treated as gods in our country. Anybody who's really, really popular will be treated as god, and so you don't question God, right? You'll be
No,
like,
but
It's
then
like, say, for example, I'm so sorry to cut you. Say, for example, some celebrity who's really into fitness, okay, can still sell Coke or aerated drink, right? Nobody's going to question it. People are going to still applaud, wow, what an ad, what you're looking so awesome. Dare anybody in the influencer or content creator world who's a fitness creator does this? You can't.
yeah.
Well, I'm sure the onus on people of different fame and popularity is it's quite a fine edge that they all have to work. They all have to walk. Sorry. Coming just about to the end and hoping to get lunch soon. Let's say, how do you envision the role of travel influencers evolving over the next 5 years with new technologies and consumer behaviors? And what innovative approaches should travel influencers need to adopt to stay relevant? Not something that we've been doing so far, but Archana.
So, technologies and trends will keep coming and going, right? So, but what is going to stay forever is the authentic storytelling. Like earlier we used to have televisions, magazines and all that, but now it's the social media. So, if you know what you are trying to tell, and it is useful for the consumers, useful for the travelers, they're going to consume it. But at the same time, using technology, like for example, searching, what are the people looking for before you create a content? Do that kind of a research and then frame your content and deliver it in a manner which is useful. Also, keeping in mind not just what the consumer is looking for, but what a destination requires, right? It's not just the money, but what does it require? How can you solve some problems? Keeping that also in mind will help, and you can play a game for the long run. And then, there are so many people who are in smaller towns and all that. Sometimes guiding them can also help, because this is a big industry and it's going to grow further. So the more people become aware of the issues, the more they start talking about, that's how the bigger issues can be solved through this. It's not just content creation. We have a far bigger role to play here.
I think being a travel creator is one of the toughest, because you feel alive and you feel alone at the same time, most of the time. It's very tough. People don't understand it. You reach a new destination, you feel so alive, and then after a day you're like, I'm lonely, I'm homesick, I need to get back home, I need that home food or whatever. But I think it's what will set you apart is your own style, because when brands contact me, they're like, we want content in your style. They don't mention anything. And because I cover technology, and you must have figured out with what I'm saying, cover technology, automobiles and luxury. So my travel content is very different from the panelists here, because they are purely doing travel in the way that it should be. But what I do is, if I'm invited to these exotic places to drive a new car like Graz, Austria, or any place, I'm showing the place while also showing technology and automobile. So they want it that way. So everybody has their own peculiar style, and that really will stick around and will make you stand out in the longer run.
My last question for the segment. What are the different kinds of travel habits that you've noticed amongst people in our country? What are the current trends, and what do you think that says about the way the space is evolving?
That's an interesting one, because the new trend is just go there and rest, do nothing. Everybody wants to do that, because for us Indians, I've seen throughout growing up, my family like, get ready, pack up, everything. We reach there, okay, let's leave the hotel room, let's have to see places, sightseeing and all of. Now it's relaxation travel. You just go there, lie down on the beach the whole day. So that is a new trend, and I think it's very important, because travel should be for relaxing, not stressing yourself. But as travel creators, I'm sorry, we're not able to do that also.
I think one of the trends that I've noticed is increase in the number of women traveling solo, even if they might be traveling in groups of strangers, but that has really increased. That, step out of the house, even if it's a 2-day trip, 3-day trip to, say, for example, Dharamshala or Sikkim, but, that's happening quite a bit, which is very, very nice.
The empowerment towards
Yes.
independent travel.
Yes.
So there's is one big trend which I have actually observed and which I heard. I was attending a Adventure Travel World Summit where they mentioned about this, that the demarcation of travelers, by the way, okay, this is a budget traveler, this is a foodie, this is somebody who's into luxury travel, those lines are blurring. Now, whether you have that much amount of money or not, whether you are spending like lakhs and lakhs of money or you're spending some thousands, you want everything. You want good food, you want good experiences, you want to travel, like one day you could be living out of a hostel, next day you could be living out of a good luxury, yacht. So it's all about experiences. It's no more about, tick marking the sightseeing destinations. It's all about experiential. It's all about what you are offering, something different. The bragging rights have now changed. It's about, oh, it's not I went to Paris and saw Eiffel Tower. No, it's like I had this meal with this master chef, or I went to see the pyramids with this historian. It's all about experiences. They want everything, so that those lines are blurring. That's the biggest trend that I have seen.
Yeah,
and sustainability also.
I went to
like
Florence
people
and
asking, yeah.
got soaps from a 13th century monks tradition. Unique theories.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. Like, to actually build on what you said, it's actually become more about experiences rather than just, covering, say, 10 countries in one trip, or like just having that tick mark that, oh my God, I traveled, or this is what I did on my holiday. Like, one thing I've noticed, especially with my audience who's been talking about this a little bit, is that people are actually planning trips around very specific experiences. Like, they will travel for a concert. They will travel only to dive. They will travel to go get massages.
The reason for that is now content creators are telling them, not travel agents. So that's the reason.
Well, so that's actually one of the biggest trends I've noticed. And I feel like because there's so much focus on an experience, it's also becoming more wholesome or more in-depth, like more specific, rather than just being a generic trip. Yeah.
The travel experience is not just about going to a hotel, but also, you have a more enriched life. 3 travel destinations someone should go to within India, maybe first, yeah? I mean, just very quickly. Yeah?
Spiti. I've not been to Northeast, but Meghalaya is big on your agenda. Yes, and Kerala.
Pori. It's a very small place, but I think it has not been hyped about the way the bigger hill stations have been done. But some of the people, the kind of work they are doing, they are actually solving bigger problems. Like, Pori has a migration issue. So some people are actually doing reverse migration. So definitely Pori, Banswara, it's the greenest part of Rajasthan, which hardly people know about. And I have a sweet spot for wildlife. So places like, okay, Pench and other places, everybody knows Bandhavgarh, but how about, going to Satpura or those kind of places? So yeah, international, I have a huge list. We'll come back later.
So I'm going to say Spiti again, but only because our places, it was transformative for me, so I'm going to say that. The second I would say is Kashmir in every season. Like, every season is so different. It's like you visited a different place altogether. So that would be the second. And the third I would say is Tamil Nadu, because I feel like that coastline is so unexplored and things change every few kilometers, and I feel like it's super underrated. So I would definitely recommend Tamil Nadu.
I'm sure the trend is also to experience untapped places, and for me, of course, Kashmir is one of them. It's still untapped. A lot of people just go just to Gulmarg and just Sonmarg and just see the snow and come back. They don't see the autumn, they don't see the fall. The other places I would recommend is people should definitely not just look at Nordic countries or European countries. Go to Eastern Europe, go to Bosnia. All of these places are very cheap. They are like great, friendly people. And Eastern Africa, it's beautiful. People don't go there. People are like South African. These are expensive places to go because they're untapped yet. But these are places that give you an experience of you'll never be able to take it again. Yep.
That's at the end of our session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can always update our bucket list based on what you've said today. Thank you
follow
again
us.
to everybody.